Good morning, good afternoon, good evening for our audience who is joining us from across the globe. And there are people who are joining in for the live Zoom session, and there will be people who will see the recording of this session on YouTube. On behalf of SK Consultancy, I welcome you all. Like you guys know, my name is Anoop, and I'm also known as Happy Anoop. And purpose of me being here today is to intentionally create some meaningful opportunities for each one of you to learn from this wonderful online gathering of beautiful minds. And today we have an amazing speaker with us, Archana Dutta. And she has done more than 100 podcasts. She has done 30 plus retreats. So many diverse fields she is into. And in a moment, she is gonna guide us through the wonderful experiences of how you can discover the hero within. Those who can switch on the videos will gain a little more eye contact and a little more knowledge than the people who prefer to stay behind the off screens. Having said that, it is your personal choice. And Komal, welcome. Thank you so much for switching on the camera. Welcome, Arshia. Welcome, Kalpana. And people who are joining us from across the globe, a very warm welcome. And over to you, Archana. We are so looking forward to this session. Since the day we meet at one of the outdoors, I have been so impressed by the second act and the different kind of works that you do. So over to you. We are looking forward to it. Archana,
Yes.
yeah.
So thank you, everyone. And thank you, Anupji and Surain, for inviting me. This platform seems incredible. I know that, there are a lot of people who want to join, but because I do so many webinars now, and I also know the limitations people come from. In the beginning, I was always like, why people don't join and why people don't switch on the cameras. And I think we have all kind of come to this conclusion that everybody can do what they feel like, and at the best available opportunity which is there, and opportunities are everywhere. So what they take out of it is completely their choice. We as facilitators, we as people in this area of self-development have to do our work. And we continue to do what we do. We continue to discover the heroes within us so that, we become the inspiration. And one day, everybody will be like, okay, aligning with it. So welcome, everybody. I am so excited that I joined in. I have been waiting for this day as well, ever since Anupji told me that, why don't you come and share your story? And I'm so excited to always share my story. So it's always about like, okay, who's calling me next? So yeah, so this is very exciting, though it's a Sunday here, and I've had a long day with one of my programs which I launched in the morning, Changing Your Life, and I help people to change their life. So it's been a little exhaustive, but I hope that my energy stays and I'm able to bring out the best in me. So I want to share a little bit of my story, if that's okay. Give me a shout out on the chat box, because the hero within is a story of my self discovery. The hero within is a story that I want to share because I feel sharing is extremely important. Because if we don't share, we are also not embracing our own shortcomings. We are not embracing our vulnerabilities. We are not embracing the hard work that we are doing. And everybody who sees us on social media thinks that everything seems perfect. Everything is not perfect. We are all struggling in our own ways. And the hero within surfaces many, many times through different ways that we are handling life. So hero is not the person who is literally out there, what the world sees, but the hero is also that he gets up every day. And this is my story as well. And I want to just share that because, um, I wasn't the person who would ever bring it out before. I've become that person now who wants to talk, because there are many who wants this motivation, this inspiration, like I was looking for when I literally flipped on the second act. So a little bit on my story now. Let me just share my screen so that you have a context. One moment. Can you see my screen? And please tell me that, yeah, you can. Okay. So go to the slideshow. So yeah, so this is literally my story. You can all see the screen. All okay so far? Okay, great. All right. So give me a second. So discover the hero within. I want, of course, your participation, because this is a very important topic. Like to define who a hero is, who a literal hero was. At least when we were growing up, the hero was the typical hero who was the Spider-Man or a Batman, or somebody who could just take over the world, protect people, and bring together. So what's your definition of a hero? Whoever is here, little Arshia is here too. Arshia, would you like to also pitch in? Because I love people who are already in stepping into their personal development space from a very young age. So Arshia, who's a hero for you? Anybody who wants to pitch in who a hero is? Hero is someone who can stand up for himself. Absolutely. Komal, I like that. Anybody else who wants to pitch in who a hero for you is? What's your definition of a hero? Okay. Surain for you. Wow, who said that? Prakash. Wow. Surain, I would love to know more about this. And Arshia, not, what is she saying? A hero is someone who cares about other people. Nice. Okay. Not being selfish. Nice. Okay. That's nice. Okay, so thank you, but keep thinking who a hero is for you, because here we are going to discover a hero within us. Hero is one who's not a zero. Okay, Parvez, but I don't know what the definition of zero is, by the way. So I'd like you to tell me a little bit about what is your definition of not being a zero. So this is a topic which really sparked me. It is a topic which sparked me. It took me back into my life, where I want to tell you that 20 years of my life I've spent in this beautiful airline for Lufthansa. I was the person who was taking charge of different departments at different points in my life. Life went on, and I was flying high in the skies, as they say. And they say when you work with Lufthansa, your blood turns yellow. And literally, I could feel that my blood has turned yellow when I was working with them. And I never wanted to leave. I never had another plan in life. I never had anything which I could see beyond them. I thought, this is my space. I was beautifully in my comfort space. We all feel that once, we are enjoying life and we are comfortable, what's the need to do something else? Do you also feel that? Do you also feel that? Do you use the chat box? Do you use any kind of emojis? Do you use any kind of sign up, so that I know that you're hearing and you're excited to, at least hear my conversation and know my story. And you sometimes agree or relate to it so that, I can continue. And if there's also a question, you can always put in the chat box and I will address it in the end. So 20 years went by. It was something that, gave me a very beautiful life, because I also got married when I joined Lufthansa. I had my two children. They grew up literally because I was there for 20 years. We saw the world and life was perfect. And then one fine day, I just get a call from a consultant saying, there is a hospitality chain who's looking for an India head, because I was also heading India in Lufthansa for loyalty. I got a call also from Hyatt Hotels, or a consultant from this international chain, saying that they are looking for somebody to head India for loyalty. And I had never even done my LinkedIn. I didn't even network before this. I didn't even know what making a CV was. And I was thinking, it's unreal. Why would somebody look for me? Who was I anyway? What have I done so great that another company wants me? And you know how we are? We feel that we don't deserve it. And we are so lucky. And so because we are so lucky and we didn't deserve it, so we should take it anyway. So, it was just a smooth transition. I took this again as an opportunity of growth, and I started to work with Hyatt. And here as well, it was just about putting myself best to make the best of what I had gone as a job. And, life continued. So I would say that life was great in my first act. You also believe with my story, right? That life was great in my first act. You feel so? Can you give me a shout out to say, yes, your life looked perfect in the first act? Absolutely, because I also thought so. I also thought so. And so I ticked all the boxes. Literally, I ticked all the boxes. I was a great wife. I was a hands-on mother. I was an adjustable in brackets daughter-in-law, a caring daughter, a good colleague, and a hero in my own right. I was a hero in my own right because I was doing the right things. I was adaptable. I was putting my best foot forward. I was wanting to be the best mother, the best wife, the best caring daughter. And I was kind of ticking all the boxes. And I was the hero. But then 2020 version happened to me. One fine day, and in the last couple of years when I had joined Hyatt, this whole thing was coming to me that what's after this? Where are you going after this? This life has been perfect for you, but this will come to an end because corporate lives don't last the rest of our lives, unfortunately. We will come to a standstill. We will have to migrate into something. And then that is the turmoil I was facing because my next transition was in Chicago, and I would have never gone to Chicago because my life was here. My husband had a great job. My kids were outside studying, but there was no need to lift myself up and go somewhere and then dismantle everything. And I was a good wife too. So I would have never even imagined that I could even in my head think that I can transition to another city or another world altogether. So I kept accepting what I got. However, this whole thing was kind of coming together. And one day, after a silence program of 9 days, I came back and I resigned after 10 days of my silence program. And that was March of 2020. And lay behold, as things would hit anybody, it is the first time I faced reality. This was a reality check in my life, and a new Archana surfaced. During that time, I was pushed to really ask some questions. Who is this Archana? You don't have an identity anymore. You don't have a job, a title, an all India office that you were looking after. You were training 32 hotels. You were just whoever believed that you had a great life now could see you falling apart. How many of us relate to something like this, that when your position slips away, our designation goes off, then we start feeling we don't have an identity. So if you relate to this, give me a little thumbs up to say, yes, our identities are based out of the work that we do probably. Our identity is based out of the titles that we hold. Our identity is something that we feel that it brings us because we are positioned in a certain way in our head, and that's what the society has made us believe. So for the first time, there was another Archana being born who was questioning this, that without this, who am I? And she was questioning her choices. She was asking why she did not learn anything today, because after doing fantastic work of 27 years, she didn't know anything. She was literally that person who said, I don't even know what skill I hold. It was so detrimental for my personality suddenly that I literally had no voice. I was struggling to know what values I held all this time. I was struggling to know what I really believed in. Everything was crumbling on my face suddenly in 2020. And then, of course, pandemic hit. So all this thing of like, I am like, I was at 46, I had, started to think what I'll do. By the time I left, I was already 47. It was like ageism was hitting me hard on my face to say, you're losing time, boss. And what will you do now? What will you do now? Because there's nothing you can do because you've not learned anything. You were given something to do. You did that fantastically. But today, if you have to start something on your own, you are no good. And it took me 7 to 8 months of crying every day, of picking myself every year, because you remember I'm the best mother, right? So the best mother can't cry. The best mother can't be seen cracking down. The best mother has to hold the house together. So, and my kids had come back because they were studying abroad, and that pandemic time brought everybody in. And so the best mother had to cook for them and to be in a happy state. And, when my kids were having mental imbalances because my daughter was in the first year of college and she said, what the hell, I'm sitting here, is this life? And my son was questioning that, what am I going to do? Because he had got a job in Australia, but he couldn't go back because the pandemic hit. I was supposed to be the best mother, right? I had to hold them. So where was this emotion? Who was dealing with what this Archana was going through? Nobody. So I was really cracking down. And then for 7 months, I was telling myself, you're not good enough. You don't have any skill. You're cracking down. You're not the person that you knew in the last 28 years. So suddenly, what is this newness about you? Why do you want to find yourself? And why do you question this whole stereotype anymore? So that is the phase when one fine day, my husband picked up a notebook which had written second act. And he said, you know, Archana, it's time that you discover your second act. And believe you me, that day and today, that name of second act has empowered me every single day. I want to tell you that in the last 3.5 years, I have done beyond my own expectation. I have done beyond my limitation. I have done something that I had never thought I can do. From running a full-fledged NGO where I support a lot of women in the space of well-being and livelihood, to holding like in many, many retreats, workshops, webinars, design courses, and putting myself out there every day. And to be a mentor to many organizations and to run a podcast and a podcast production company now, all this in 3.5 years. And it is not, or it wasn't easy. It just wasn't easy. I'm doing corporate and university workshops. Pavilion is, well-being space, like I told you. So there are some glimpses of that here. My podcast has more than 150 people. Some people are known, which I have put. Hopefully, Imtiaz Ali and Roshan Abbas and Ankur Varikus of the world. They are all there sharing their second act stories. I had one determination that everything that I will do will be centered around second act. Second act being the metaphor of tapping into the immense potential of every human being, potential that I never saw in myself. I was doing fantastic work, but like lifelessly, in the sense of like I was given, I was doing, I was coming home, I was just ticking boxes. But there was nothing that was being discovered as a part of my potential. And when I started to really realize what lies behind this, I thought, oh my goodness, this is something that I should have done way long back. This Archana had to be discovered way long back. So I make it a point now, in every which way, I help people to discover their second act. So in less than 3 years, I've done 50 workshops and retreats. I've impacted 400,000 lives. I have a podcast which has 140 people already on my 3 series. Plus now I help people to launch their podcast through my production company, because there is so much learning I've gathered with doing my own podcast. I'm a mentor to organizations like Ladies Who Lead, Aspire for Her. I also facilitate at Harappa and Jombe. I'm, of course, every day on LinkedIn. So, of course, they have facilitated me with some coaching and mentoring voices, top LinkedIn voice, etc., etc. And I have got a lot of accolades. So this is the Archana probably who was captured somewhere. This was the hero probably that I never saw in myself. And this is the hero that I literally admire. But is this journey? So if you see on the social media and the way that I'm describing, everything seems so fantastic, isn't it? Does it seem fantastic? Does this life seem fantastic? Does it tell you that, wow, how, like, wow, and clapping, wow, it's incredible. But believe you me, this second act is extremely tough. It is not easy to fall every day. I fall every day, even till today. It's been an experience which I go through where I was all alone. I did not know where to start. I did not know how to make a program, how to do a workshop, how to curate a retreat. And I messed up, and I messed up many, many times. And then I'm reminded of this poem that I kind of, stumbled upon one day. And I want to read it. It's a little longer poem, but at the same time, I really want you to close your eyes while I'm reading this poem and feeling the essence of get up and win the race, because this is the essence of second act, what it's doing. So may I invite you all, please, to take off your specs, sit in a position where you can actually immerse yourself in the poem, because this is such a beautiful poem that will give you some insights of being a hero. Okay, so let me just start with this. Just one moment. So whenever I start to hang my head in front of failure's face, my downward fall is broken by the memory of a race. A children's race, young boys, young men, how I remembered well. Excitement sure, but also fear, it wasn't hard to tell. They all lined up so full of hope, each thought to win that race, or tie for first, and if not, at least to take a second place. Their parents watched off the side, each cheering for their son, and each boy hoped to show his folks that he would be the one. One boy in particular, whose dad was in the crowd, was running in the lead and thought, my dad will be so proud. But as he stepped down the field and crossed the shallow dip, the little boy who thought he'll win lost his step and slipped. As he fell, his hope fell too. He couldn't win it now. Humiliated, he just wished to disappear somehow. But as he fell, his dad stood up and showed his anxious face, which to the boy so clearly said, get up and win the race. He quickly rose, no damage done, behind a bit, that's all, and ran with all his mind and might to make up for his fall. So anxious to restore himself, to catch up and to win, his mind went faster than his legs, he slipped and fell again. He wished that he had quit before with only one disgrace. I'm hopeless as a runner now, I shouldn't try the race. But through the laughing crowd he searched and found his father's face with a steady look that said again, get up and win the race. So he jumped up to try again, 10 yards behind the last. If I'm to gain these yards, he thought, I'll got to run real fast. Exceeding everything he had, he regained 8, then 10, but trying hard to catch the lead, he slipped and fell again. Defeat, he lay there silently, a tear dropped from his eye. There's no sense running anymore, 3 strikes, I'm out anyway. Then why try? I've lost, so what's the use, he thought. I live with my disgrace. But then he thought about his dad, who soon he'll have to face. Get up, an echo sounded low. You haven't lost at all, for all you have to do is to win, is to rise each time you fall. So up he rose and ran again, refusing to forfeit, and he resolved that win or lose, at least he won't quit. So far behind the others now, the most he'll ever been, still he gave it all he had and ran like he could win. They cheered another boy who crossed the line and who won the first place. Head high and proud and happy, no falling, no disgrace. But when the fallen youngster crossed the line in the last place, the crowd gave him a greater cheer for at least finishing the race. And even though he came in last with his head bowed low, and proud, you would have thought he'd won the race to listen to the bow. And his dad, he sadly said, I didn't do so well, Dad. To me you won, his father said, you rose each time you fell. And now when things seem dark and bleak and difficult to face, the memory of that little boy helps me in my own race. For all in life is like that race with ups and downs and all you have to do to win is rise each time you fall. And when depression and despair shout loudly in my face, another voice within me says, now get up, dear friend, and win that race. So what do you think? So I want you to open your eyes and tell me, what do you think? How many of us are struggling with winning the race of something which is expected from the society, or getting up every time and saying, okay, but at least I won this race because I showed up every day. So this is my story of showing up every day. What you see is not something that goes without showing up. The hero within me, which I love right now, is something that comes out also from this very powerful quote, which I consider. This is that there's some wise man has said that there are two lives. There are always two lives. And we start living the second one when we only realize that we have one. So for this as well, I feel that we have two heroes within us. And to be honest, the second one starts surfacing when we only realize we only have one. So this is one life, and this hero, which is somewhere trapped in between, which we succumb to saying with our stereotypical conditioning that I'm living my best life because I've ticked all the boxes, is not something that you actually discover, because that's not your full you. That's not the hero within. So I want to tell you all that there are heroes sitting inside us. There's hero within us. There's hero which is trapped. It might sound difficult. It will not be an easy game, but at least you'll have a fulfilling life. This hero will surface. This hero will give you the confidence that you're doing the right thing. You're tapping into something that probably you hadn't before. Your own journey will surprise you every day, and that's what I feel every day as well. So this poem gives me the power. This poem tells me whenever I stumble, I tell myself, come on, get up, dear friend. Come on, get up and win the race. Winning the race is not about winning. Winning the race is about vulnerability. Winning the race is about my asking for help. Winning the race is about accepting any spaces which can inspire anybody else. Winning the race is also about touching people's lives. It is the purpose that I've defined in my second act, that not a day will go by when I will not put a smile on somebody's face. And that's the hero within me who now screams and gives me that confidence that I may fall many times. I might not be perfect. I might not know what I'm doing. I might not be the expert in a subject, but I'm trying. I'm learning every day. I'm unlearning every day. I am putting myself out there just because I'm determined that the hero within me gets more satisfaction. And this is the hero that I really love. This is the hero that I really love. Thank you, Arshia, that you find my poem and the story also beautiful, because you're beautiful. You're beautiful, and that's why you can relate to my story. And thank you. And I thank you for understanding what is this hero within, who might be stumbling and not struggling, but at least this hero wants to just show up every day. And that's such a huge thing. So I want to ask you then, so where is that hero within you? Is there something that you must discover? There is something that you must do for yourself. Is there a hero which is tapping inside, trapped, but you're not allowing it out because you're not supposed to do it, because you're supposed to be just the tick box and nothing more. So come out, there are two heroes, and by the time you'll realize that the second one is surfacing, you'll realize there was only one time, one life, and your one opportunity. So let the hero within you come out. So I hope that this was my little synopsis. I thought I'll just completely squeeze it into a quick recap and tell you that yes, life changed 360 degrees for me. But is it an easy thing that I'm feeling? Not at all. Is it something that is happening overnight? Not at all. I'm doing every single day. I get up and I run the race. So I'm happy to answer questions. I'm happy to answer or, talk about any observations, anything that comes up. So I hope that I did some justice to the whole seminar and, putting it in perspective. Does anybody want to ask me anything? Please feel free. You can unmute or you can, yeah. Arshia, why don't you say something?
As of now, nothing. And when I have anything to say, I'll say.
Okay, thank you. But at least you're putting a lot on the chat box, so I appreciate that. Anybody else? I mean, yeah, Kalpana, thank you for saying that. Does anybody have anything to ask? Anything that probably you have to say on observations of the different heroes which are inside us. Sometimes this hero tells me that I'm doing a great job. Sometimes this hero lifts me up because probably I've fallen. Sometimes this hero within me is embracing me because I need that support. So the different heroes which surface in my life are all sitting within me. I just need to tap into them. Kalpana is saying I'm internalizing. Yes.
Hi, Archana. Komal here.
I
I loved your talk. I could connect so well to every single word that you were saying. I'm pretty much in the same boat, where I've left my corporate job of last 20 years and I was feeling so lost. I've done this life coaching course and I was feeling so lost when I got in touch with Suren and I was asking him, what should I do? How should I go about? And I'm still on that journey. So I'd love to connect with you at some point of time and find out how you took it forward, how I can take it forward. One thing that was very, very powerful for me because I also internalized it as I left my corporate job and, a lot of things changed in my life was, when I realized that I have only one life. So I could really connect with it. So thank you so much. This was very, very powerful and very, very moving for me.
Thank you. I'm so glad. I'm so glad. And I can tell you, yes, this transition is not going to be easy, if anything
Yeah.
else. And I'm not going to tell you that, it will just happen. You'll have to relentlessly work. But all I can tell you is it's going to be so gratifying that every morning you'll wake up with a cheer. Every morning you'll wake up with a purpose and you will say, oh God, why I didn't do this before.
Then it's also good to be part of this community. I mean, thank you so much, Surain, for having this Learnathon because it's so good to be part of a community, where you see people talk about, their vulnerabilities, how they fell, they got up and they're achieving what they're doing. And it's so real. And you want to hear that because it's such a lot of support, for people who are starting out or people who are on the same journey. So this is really beautiful. It's like I said, Suren, yesterday I sent you a note. It's worth getting up in the morning. It's 7 o'clock over here. So really nice, actually.
Perfect. That's a great way to start your day. Absolutely. And that too a Sunday.
Yeah, it's a Sunday.
Komal, thank you so much for saying that. And Archana, we would also like to know a little about the retreats that you do and the podcast that you host.
Yes. So let me tell you that, I started with things that I missed out in my corporate life. I thought that as a person, I did not celebrate myself enough. And that's what was also sometimes reflecting when I was sitting on the table with people in my organization. You know how women are, we get intimidated, we don't have that confidence, we always feel that, that I should take the back seat and, we are conditioned not to take the first step. So the first program that is a flagship program in my retreat format is called I Celebrate Myself. And that's literally the celebration that each one of us needs to do, not men, women, but in particular, I started designing courses for things that I understood that women are not able to do so that I can support them. Then I also designed retreats around mindfulness and life in general so that we understand that we have only one life. And I have a very beautiful retreat format also for men called Lead from Your Core, because I think men do need empathetic leadership. And that is the thing which came out from a survey as well. And then it's not like randomly I'm designing things. It's a lot of study. It's a lot of asking and figuring out what is the best value that one can give designing these retreats and workshops. And there's another very beautiful retreat, which I do is called Dare to Wear Your Pink Boots. And that is something to bring in inclusivity. Dare to stand up, dare to have a voice, dare to be inclusive, and dare to ask for inclusiveness. So it is a program which is embedded with special people, LGBTQ people, disabled people, and of course, people from the corporate world, so that everybody comes together in a platform, in an open atmosphere where we can talk and we can express. And we just say, dare to wear your pink boots. because if that's what you like and that's what you want to do and that's what you need to do, then how we need to create inclusive spaces. So that's on the more professional corporate side. But from the personal side, I do retreats, especially for women, called Coffee Bean Retreats, which is allowing women to just be, literally giving them the space to take rest, to self-care, and to be compassionate and kind to themselves, and to understand that we don't have to tick boxes all the time. So that is something, a space which is very special. And that happened because my first podcast guest, Sarika Panchi, she was the first person on my podcast when I started the podcast journey. She kept looking at my work, and then after a few months, she came out to me and said, I want to work with you. I don't know what we'll do together, but let's design something, because we are both, our vibe is so beautiful. And I think this power of collaboration, the power of community, what you mentioned, comes from these platforms. You don't know where your vibe is actually going to, which person, and what you collaborate and make it beautiful. So Sarika became my partner in Coffee Bean Retreats. We put this retreat together for women, a very beautiful space again. And of course, my workshops are centered around changing one's life, enhancing one's life, designing one's life. So I hope I answered that question. Thank you for asking. And my podcast, of course, is also about Discover Your Second Act. It brings in stories of what made the person who's sitting in front of me, through all the resilience and all the shortcomings and all the fall downs and all the losing the races, but what is the best that he or she took out from this life, so that somebody somewhere is wanting to be like, one's inspiration. Maybe the story just touches that person. And the podcast is only centered around Discover Your Second Act, that there's somebody, the hero sitting inside. Discover that.
Thank you. Thank you so much for sharing that, guy. And guys, shower of hearts for Archana. Thank you so much for sharing your story. It is truly an inspiring story. And those who would like to connect with Archana on LinkedIn, that is the link in the chat box. Please connect with her. And at any point of time, if you have any questions, you would like to know more about her, please message her on LinkedIn. And we look forward to hosting you at SK Consultancy headquarters in Goa, where we also are setting up our own podcast studio, and we'll be very happy to have you there and do an interview with Suren sir.
Absolutely, and more. Absolutely. I'm looking forward, and thank you so much. If you can connect with me offline, and if there's anything else that I can help anybody with, it'll be my pleasure. So Suren and Anoopji, this is a moment for me where I must say that I met Anoopji literally when I started this journey of Second Act. I did not know what I will do. I was so confused. I was sitting out with him one day and I was asking him questions that how do I go ahead from here? I was so confused. I didn't know where will I use, this facilitation course that we were doing together, or he was facilitating and I was doing that course. What will I do with this? I had no idea. But the way that we connected, we stayed in touch. And today I can only tell you that we need the support of each other. We need the community. We need people to hold us, because there are enough people who will put us down, by the way. So it's not that we are not put down, but we do need some incredible people. So thank you for being that people, Suren and Anoopji. Thank you so much.
Thank you. Thank you so much, Archana. Pleasure having you here.